Hello everyone and welcome to Zoom O'Clock with Tessy. Today we have a very special guest, something really different for once. Normally I have conversations with people over Zoom and they're in their home. But today, just because this is my best friend we're talking about, she is in my home. So you can see some of the background in my home for the first time. And I'm really delighted to introduce you to my wonderful best friend, Miss Farah Nanji.
Hello everyone. How are you doing today, Tessy?
Wonderful. It's just such a pleasure to have you with me here today.
Thank you so much.
And I really want the world to understand and hear all of the incredible work you do in so many different sectors, but they're all connected. So for the wonderful, for all of you guys listening in today that do not know Farah yet, but I'm sure that's going to change very quickly after this Zoom O'Clock. It's about, so Farah Nanji, we have been best friends for years. We have met because of a sisterhood, because that is how women meet. Women meet when they share good practice, when they talk about each other's work, when they connect within women business clubs. And here in London, we have quite a few. So I was very privileged to meet you there in a changing room at a spa, because that is what the day was about. We had a little spa get together with that club, and we just got talking and became best friends literally instantly that day. So Farah Nanji, she is an absolute multi-talent and a serial entrepreneur. She has done an incredible TEDx talk in Luxembourg, which we will get into as well in a minute. She is the founder and director of Regents Racing, which I'm also very honored to be the ambassador. She is also launching a new company, which we will be talking about as well. And she does just so many things which have to do with racing. And of all things, she's a globally recognized DJ, has played in Ibiza, has played in London, in all of the major famous clubs, has played at weddings, events, everything you can imagine. And her music is really, it stands out. She knows all of the main magicians you can imagine as well. And with a racing career, knows as well Lewis Hamilton and all of these other fabulous people. But that is enough for me explaining who is Farah. So Farah, if I may, can I ask you just in a few minutes time, who is Farah and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name means fun. So I feel like or happiness. So I feel like, I've always been very determined that I kind of follow what makes me happy. And in a way, it's sort of a, darkness to light sort of situation, because like I was quite bullied at school, and the escapism I found was through music and motorsport. So going karting, and then also playing the guitar from a young age. And those two things really sort of taught me a lot about the healing powers of music, but also of sports, of course, as well. So yeah, and I'm very lucky that, I've turned those passions into business. So it doesn't feel like, I'm working as a slave for a system. I really have my own ventures, and I really kind of just follow the path wherever it's going to go. And yeah, I guess that's kind of what I feel about what I'm doing and who I am.
So Farah, in a nutshell, let's dig deep, shall we? So Farah, tell me, I guess we're starting with your life story, and within that we lead into the TEDx talk as well, because you were talking about it extensively in Luxembourg, and you were giving a performance as well, a music performance in front of one of the biggest crowds they had for the TEDx Luxembourg, which was in the big Philharmonie. So hundreds and hundreds of guests. It was really absolutely incredible and super inspiring. So tell me, Farah, what was your biggest life obstacle, and how have you turned it around to become your biggest asset?
Yeah, so I guess it goes back to the TEDx talk, which was really what I talked about was rewiring the brain through learning difficulties. And in particular, I found out much later on in my sort of teenhood that I had dyspraxia, which is a situation or a kind of condition where basically motor coordination signals are transmitted a lot less, are more delayed to the rest of the brain and the body. And by this point, I'd already found what I was passionate about, which was music and motorsport. And I was quite kind of already heading down a path of pursuing those things professionally. So to kind of find that out, particularly when you're, with racing, people start really young. I didn't start that young, but, it's something that once you do it, you really dedicate your entire life to it. So I think, some of the biggest obstacles do relate back to that, and kind of navigating and understanding that there's a reason why certain things, were delayed, or why, sequencing and coordination, those things were much more difficult to me, even though I felt like intuitively and, I really understood and was so passionate about music and motorsport. But sometimes there was a disconnect, and particularly even with music, like it is a very coordinated thing. Like, you're on the beat. If you miss the beat by even like a split second, everybody can hear when you're not beat matching properly, or, so I think those things, that has been a big obstacle. But I think as soon as you find out that you have something, then it helps a lot, because then that that's the situation, and you can only then kind of get better and find ways to kind of navigate around those challenges.
That is really incredible. So, as a mother myself of 2 teenage sons, my youngest will be 13 in 2 weeks' time. So it's really about, they are very dyslexic, and I can totally relate to learning difficulties and how it is in school as well, because I think, while they have been bullied for their learning difficulties and have been called dumb as well, just because their reading is not as fast as their peers maybe, and their comprehension. They do so much extra curriculum work to work on these difficulties to make them their strengths. But it's just, as a child, I can imagine also for you, it wasn't always easy to just keep strong and say, okay, I am different. But so was Einstein, so was Steve Jobs, so was Elon Musk, and all of these other people who have learning difficulties, and yet they made it today. So what was your beacon of strength that you had when you were a child? Because obviously you were bullied as well, as you mentioned before, to really just keep going. And what would be your kind of like mantra for people listening in today, mothers, parents who have children with learning difficulties, but also children who are listening to this, who want to become a world-class DJ like you, or racing car driver? What would you tell them? What did you do to overcome this, and how can they do the same?
So I think, going back to mantras, mind over matter, that's absolutely the thing that I live by. I remember that every single day. Even, on the fridge, we have a lot of magnets, and they have lots of inspirational things. And it's small things like that when, you're going downstairs, you're starting your day, you're just reminded about these things. And in terms of like navigating some of those things, I think, well, the biggest beacon that I'm very privileged to have had and have is, my family. They absolutely are like the backbone of me and my existence, and helping me understand a lot more about why, I could be different or whatever. But the other things that, we've kind of together discovered as a family that's been quite important for everybody, not just anyone with a learning difficulty, but it's things like meditation, things like yoga, looking after your body, nutrition. These are the core fundamental things for anyone. And then particularly, for me, I felt like when I went deeper with music and my journey, like I discovered binaural beats, for example, which, allowed me to just get into a different mindset of focus. And it just kind of worked in the background to just kind of get those dots more aligned. And I think the other thing is it's not very conventional, obviously, if you have a coordination delay, to get into career paths that are so heavily reliant on coordination. But if you feel innately very passionate about something, it should never stop you, because when you throw yourself into the deep end, I just think you can only get better at something. And once you pass that barrier and you break it, then, the world is really yours for the taking. And also, you also have to kind of be, well, for me personally with motorsport, I knew, of course, I would have loved to be, a Formula One driver. And it just, I knew probably it's not going to happen for me. And also it's not just about myself, but the fact that like females, there isn't still one F1 female driver on the grid. So it's just reality. But what are the other, career paths within motorsport? And for me personally, that was leadership. I can see a huge link between what it takes to succeed in that environment, and how that can be transferred to business, and just to your own personal leadership. So yeah,
really interesting, because it's so important. And Farah was, I worked with her in the past, where we were organizing, for example, the Innovation Day in Luxembourg with the Vodafone Foundation and the Space Agency with Saint Georges International School in Luxembourg, where she was giving a workshop really to make young people understand being a DJ is you know, stereotypically you imagine a person with the mixing board and everything is ready and all that, but there's so many other jobs and vocations around that profession which people don't always look into. So I thought that was really interesting, as well as you say as well with the motorsport obviously was not possible for Farah to do as a profession, driving herself, even though she is driving, but professionally. But there's so many other subsections you can really find your vocation, because a vocation is not just made of one thing, but there's so many, it's a whole tribe. You need the whole tribe to make it work. So moving on then. So for the DJing, how did you get into it? Because you mentioned to me as well with the GCSEs, for example, that music technology is now a really big part of it. Can you tell me a little bit of that for the young listeners here? And also, how did you get into it? How did you know this is for me? Yeah. And how hard was it as a female in that sector? Because it's obviously a very male-driven sector still today. Yeah. Females still in the DJ domain are paid less than men, are less respected, less hired. So how did you make it happen?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I was lucky to grow up in London. So, you know, obviously very musically rich country, a lot of opportunities to kind of experience music. And I think the first time that I went out, which I will admit was, you know, maybe a bit younger than, you know, I should have been. But, you know, I wasn't there for the wrong reasons. You know, I was really there to kind of experience what music sounds like on a huge sound system. And when you hear like a kick drum on a sound system, and it was Fabric, which also has, you know, sound system on the dance floor itself. So you're hearing literally a full body experience. You suddenly realize the powers of your music. And I just saw this whole, and I was very lucky because of when I was growing up also, I experienced the whole kind of like shift in technology. So starting off with, you know, tape recorders to Walkmans to iPods, and then to where we are today. And also the explosion of house music around the world, particularly in, you know, the early 2000s, was phenomenal. So to be part of that, to see that it actually could become a career path, much, you know, very dubious as to how, but that it was a possibility. And I think the way that I made it happen was I kind of naturally gravitated to the DJ booth. So my two best friends, you know, at that point growing up were like two of the best DJs in London. And they respected me because, you know, I had a musical taste, and I was showing them we were exchanging a lot of cool music. And I just observed their environment and for many years, and before I actually like went and started DJing myself. And going back to education, I think there's nothing wrong with actually studying this, because, you know, it fastens up the process. And as you mentioned now with the GCSE music, it's actually DJing and music production is 60% of the 40%, sorry, of the grade. So it just reflects how we're consuming music now anyway is different. I mean, we can all download a DJ app on our phone. We can all, to a basic degree, put on 2 songs and mix together. So my advice would be, you know, we have the internet, obviously, it's fantastic. There's so many panel discussions. Go out there and listen to them. Follow the, you know, conferences like IMS, WMC. Really hear what people are saying, and also be very conscious of the fact that it is also a very difficult path to navigate. So you need to be aware, you need to be ready, you need to be accepting of the fact that you do need to have a lot of resilience, because people are going to judge you no matter where you are, what you're doing. You know, as soon as you walk on that stage, people are going to have an opinion. And you just have to be ready for that. And you also need to know how to stay true to yourself, because like I personally am very, very focused on the fact that I play underground house music. And I'm not going to sell out on anything else just to make more money or whatever else, because I want to be known for a specific type of sound. And so, yeah, those would be my kind of couple of tips.
Yeah, very, very nice. So Farah, also what I want to say, which is important for people listening in, you know, she's very innovative. So you're always trying to incorporate new techniques. What we have done as well, she is also, well, as she says, she has her own technique, but she has also done, for example, meditation retreats where we were doing yoga and she was doing the music to it and all these things to really understand the vibes of music and how diverse the experience of music technology can be. So tell us a little bit, as a woman then, how was that for you particularly, and what was your greatest achievement where you knew hey, this is my world. I am here because I need to be here. When was that moment for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, as a female, it's going to be it is just what it is, and it should never stand in the way. But also, you don't want to be. You see other females who unfortunately misrepresent it, and they really use their sex to sell something, which I think is really distasteful. And we just don't. Why do you need to do that? Because at the end of the day, like, your music should do the talking, and it doesn't matter. And it's the same with racing. When you put on a helmet, nobody knows what gender you are underneath that. So at the end of the day, it should be your results and your product that speaks for you. I guess the moment, I don't know, I feel like it was quite early on, just as soon as I learned how to do it, and just playing it, it just felt completely natural, and I just knew I wanted to be there, and I knew I wanted to pursue it. And because I started doing it just before university as well, it was a very natural transition as well going into it. Like, I had residencies in London during my university days, so as soon as I graduated, I was just like off, like a whirlwind. Just, that's it, I'm going to do this. And yeah.
That's really beautiful. So, because we are sadly already running out of time, it's just so fabulous to talk to you, and the Zoomer clocks are very bite-sized, but we don't want to leave you just like that. So what I want to make sure is that I put in the video as well your Spotify and all of your channels, because Farah is always looking for new adventures within the music space. And if I had her at many of my events, I think she is an add-on to everything you can imagine when it comes to events. TEDx Luxembourg is just ecstatically always excited to have Farah, and many other people. So do definitely look up Farah. Her new company, which is coming out as well, maybe briefly you want to mention it, because it's going to be launched very soon. And definitely we also will put a link below to that. But would you like to just share a glimpse of that new adventure?
Yeah, for sure. So I've actually got two really exciting new adventures coming up. So one is the Formula Mind, which is the motorsports, another vendor in motorsports. And that's actually taking this concept of leadership and what you can learn from being in the driving seat or being in a team. Because at the end of the day, in a Formula One team, you've got 1,000 people, whether it's engineering to HR to marketing, every single person who's gotten there are literally at the top of what they do. And how do you kind of sustain that peak performance? So we take some of these transferable skills, whether it's communication, digital transformation, sustainability, all different sort of topics, and we deliver high impactful workshops for leadership, senior management leadership teams. And these workshops are going to be taking place at Silverstone, but of course, given the current climate, we're also going to be doing a blended online version as well. And then the second thing is I am also launching a podcast very, very soon this year, actually, called Mission Makers. And it goes a lot deeper into the misconceptions of people who are changing the game, and talking a bit more as to what we don't talk about, and so yeah, those are the two things that I would say keep an eye out on. And Formula Mind will definitely be something that's out next year for people to consume.
Well, that sounds really exciting. So definitely I will put all of the details and information below your video. And also, if you have more questions to Farah, or you want to get involved, she always is looking for new, exciting thoughts. If you want to do an internship with her, if you have something to share, do not hesitate, because I think it's just by really sharing good practice and sharing different ideas that we're creating innovation. So do get in touch with Farah. Follow her on Instagram as well, DJ Ninja. And stay tuned for the new and exciting developments which are coming in the next few months, starting today. So thank you so much, Farah.
Thank you so much for having me, Tessy. Always a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. Last question to you. What do you want to share as kind of like a book, a quote, an anecdote, or something short for the listeners, like a call to action straight away, that was really instrumental for you to get you where you are today?
Yeah, I think there's a quote by Rumi which says, "What you seek is seeking you." And I think that's quite profound, because I think innately we know what makes us happy, and if it's just going back to your childhood, what were those things that got you excited, and just we're living in a time now where it's even more important that what we're doing is really impactful and meaningful, because all the systems are breaking around us, and we have to be the face of change in the new world. So I think that's what I'd like to leave everyone with just that seed of thought.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Definitely applies to all domains. So yeah, keep tuned for all of the amazing developments. Get in touch with Farah, and leave your comments below. Thank you so much.
Thank you.